Hey, welcome to Lunch with Lee. Today we're going to talk about water leaks, and that in Houston, where we have a lot of rain and we don't have a lot of actual usage of fireplaces, chimneys, gas appliances, anything like that, all the combustion appliances, it becomes the most important variable just because that's where all of our damage comes from. But today we have a special guest. It is Donovan Blanks. He is our service manager. And hey, Donovan, how you doing today?
Hi, Lee. I did not bring lunch, but I'm still going to have lunch with you.
Yeah, no one wants to see me eat, man. That's not something that would attract people. No one wants to share that. No one wants to like it. It is what it is. Maybe a drink or two.
Well, I've seen you eat, and I'll do it again. But yeah, I don't think that's appropriate for live streaming.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to record it. So today we're going over water leaks. We've been over it before because it's such a big issue in our market. You've been out in our market for a good while now. What do you see with water leaks, and how should customers take care of that?
So what I see out there is that in the Houston market, with almost without question, every single issue or defect that we come across in a masonry fireplace and chimney structure is due to water intrusion on the system. And that goes for the interior components that are defective, because most commonly what we see as I go out and provide service to customers in the Houston area, and as I ride along with other techs that we're training and working with, we're seeing missing mortar joints. We're seeing cracked back walls of the fireboxes. We're seeing missing mortar joints on the rear wall of the fireboxes. We're seeing rusted out damper assemblies and frames. We're seeing the missing mortar between the bricks and the smoke chambers, and we're seeing the missing mortar joints between each and every flue tile as we go up through there. And that can be attributed back to the construction of the chimney structure when it was built. And that's not that it was wrong or that it's anybody's fault. It's just that that's the way they were built when they were built, whether that was in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It doesn't matter. People only knew how to build them the way that they knew how to build them. And as codes and standards have changed, we've brought some new standards and raised the bar as far as how that construction should be done.
Sure. What can people look for? Because all that, and we talked about fancy terms, smoke chambers, flue tiles, that's basically the inside of your fireplace. And what he's saying is there's gaps, there's holes. It's not it's not gas tight from the hole at the bottom to the hole at the top. Because my famous phrase, which I've been quoted a million times, are hole at the bottom, hole at the top, no holes in between.
Yep.
And that's 95% of everything.
I love using the straw analogy or the vacuum hose with an attachment analogy. The smoke chamber is like the vacuum hose attachment, and then you've got the flue that's the vacuum hose, and it's supposed to be sucking the byproducts of combustion up and out of the system. And when we have holes in that system, they can escape, and they can get out of that system and cause a lot of issues. But like we were talking about the construction of the chimney itself, this has been known for almost 1,000 years that there should be a cap on top of masonry, whether it's stone, brick, whatever, and it should overhang the structure on all four sides or all exposed sides, so that it provides kind of some umbrella protection. And the Brick Institute of America tells us that a BIA crown should overhang the brickwork that it's in place to protect by 2 inches all the way around on all four sides, so that it can shed water better and keep it away from the structure. And as you look around the Houston area, and in fact, as you look around the entire country, you'll see what we call the mortar splay or the mortar wash up there on top, which is just a smear of mortar or concrete, very thin. It doesn't even usually doesn't even always come to the edge of the brickwork that it's in place to protect. And it just allows that water intrusion right there from the top of the system, and it works its way down through the system.
Yeah, because one of the things that I've noticed is the rest of the brick on your house all has eaves. and quite often gutters on those eaves. And that brick stays fairly not moldy. It stays in better shape. It doesn't age as fast. As soon as you get that chimney above the roof line, incorrectly designed, as you said, without those eaves, plus it's way above the roof line. There's wind, there's rain, there's all kinds of, lightning. No eave's going to help you from that.
No.
But it's exposed to the elements a lot more than the rest of your house. So protecting is important. And what I see is black in our market is mold. Always, always, always follow the colors.
Yeah, what we see a lot out in the truck is the staining of the microorganisms or the mold, the lichen, the moss, those things that are going to start growing off of those mortar joints and brickwork, and get the nice fuzzy little textures all the way around, and it'll eventually turn green and then brown and add some color to your chimney.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we see the mold all the time. So another thing that we see here all the time too, and I know you've noticed it, is gutters that direct water to chimneys, and there is no downspout. So and all those nice fireplaces have those beautiful little shoulders where it comes down and goes out, and all the gutter just drenches shoulders. What's the problem with that?
Well, we want to keep the water diverted away from the chimney as much as possible, so that the structure can do its job and protect not only the system, the fireplace system, but the structure of the house as well. So we want to divert as much as possible. We can't divert it all, but one of the things that we like to look for when we're out there in the field is the diverter flashings. They're at the corner of the chimney where the roof, the edge of the roof meets the chimney, having a little kick out flashing there that diverts the water into the gutter so it doesn't run straight down the chimney and saturate the shoulders or the chimney structure itself.
Sure, absolutely. Because when you're like us and you can get 2, 3, 4 inches or more of rain in an hour,
yeah,
there's times when certain gutters, my uncle does gutters. Gutters are only designed for so much per hour.
Right.
There's a certain time where it's just too much. But then you put in a poorly designed gutter system, and it can wreak havoc because suddenly you have a waterfall onto your chimney.
Yeah, and that brick and mortar is going to soak up that water, and this is what's wrong with having that mortar splay up on top, is that's just soaking up water. And as it works down through the system, it's trying to force its way in and out, in and out. It's constantly trying to find that path of least resistance, and it's constantly pushing and pushing in all directions, and it deteriorates those mortar joints from the inside out. It flushes out the mortar joints from between the flue tiles. It flushes out the mortar joints in the smoke chamber. And its final resting place, as I like to say, its final resting place is down there behind the firebox. And all of a sudden you start seeing those bricks bulging out of the back of your wall of your firebox, and the missing mortar joints and the cracks back there in the middle of the back wall. And that would be something that I would look for if I'm a homeowner and maybe I don't know that much about chimneys right now. That would be the advice that I would hand off is, first things first, kind of look at your firebox right there where you have the fire. Look at that back wall. Are you seeing any bricks starting to bulge forward? Are you seeing any cracks or missing mortar joints in that back wall? Because that's a pretty good sign of water intrusion on the system. And as we try to tell each and every one of our customers, you can live anywhere in the United States without a functional fireplace. And we'd love nothing more than to repair that fireplace for you. But what we're really concerned about is stopping the water intrusion on the system, because if that's not taken care of, we don't know if it's going to be 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, or 50 years, but eventually that's going to get into the walls of the house. And it's going to be hard for you to live without the wall of your house, while you can live without a functioning fireplace anywhere in the world. So we want to always take care of that water intrusion first and foremost.
Right. And thank you, Brandy, 2 experts. We pretend to know what we're talking about at least. We've been doing it for a while. We've made all the mistakes, so hopefully we've learned from them. And customers can appreciate that too, because we've made all the mistakes on in our training, and we figured it out over time, and we've been taught by the absolute best.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to water, when in Houston, especially when we don't use fireplaces much, we get a ton of rain. It actually exaggerates the problem, because I have to tell customers all the time: the more you use it, the more you heat it up, the more it dries out. All the creepy crawlies, all the mold and mildew, they all go away. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to have tons of cobwebs, where you have spider colonies inside the fireplace, and they've been in there for years. So in our market, especially, getting that water leak fixed, even if you're not going to use it, but fixing it at a certain point is incredibly important, because eventually you're going to sell your house. And we want to make sure that we fix things as early as possible, so they're not, so we do it as cheaply or as cost effectively. Cheap is probably not a good word, but cost effectively as possible.
That's right. And you know as well as I do that all across the country, multiple different regions, even in Houston and Phoenix and Arizona and Florida, a functioning fireplace system, an operational and functional fireplace system, can be worth anywhere from 6 to 12% of the value of your home. So it's important to have that maintained and kept up, whether you're using it every day or once a week or once a month.
Yeah, and then we have stuff like we have our cold snap.
Right.
People hadn't used it in 10, 20 years, and suddenly you're throwing wood in it. And then we start to get the calls, because fireplaces that have been ignored for 20, 30 years and had leaks long term don't just light up and work well. That's my opinion and my experience.
Well, it's amazing how many times we put a gas insert in one of the fireplaces, and the customer gets a remote control, and all of a sudden they're using it more. And they don't want us to come out and do the annual service until June, because they're still using it all the way through May, even though they don't need it for heat. They just love the way it looks, and they're turning it on because they have that remote.
Right. Most people who know me well know my mom is a fireplace fanatic, and she has a gas log set with a remote control, not an insert, but a fireplace, because she likes to use it in August and July. I'll go over there right now and she'll have it on. Dog laid out by the fireplace, AC turned down to 61. But the answer is it makes her, it's good memories. It's mental warmth. It makes her feel good. And hey, if it does, knock yourself out, because she's probably 3 times a week year round. And you can tell when you look at her cap at the top, it's black. It's gas log. You say it's black. So
well, luckily you're her son, and you can go over there and maintain that. 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, absolutely. The batteries get changed out. She knows somebody that can help her out. But we do have people in Houston that use fireplaces, even in the warmth. I'm so surprised. And you've run into it too. You start to see people who assume that, but they pump wood through these things just because it's almost like a bonfire. They just like it. It's not about heat. So, but water is an issue. Now, when we go away from masonry fireplaces to manufactured metal fireplaces, and these are sort of those kits that are installed in the walls that we have all over the place. If you have a house built in the last probably 15 years at least, you have probably a manufactured metal fireplace. And the problem with those is we have salty water and they rust. So no different whether it's masonry or manufactured metal, water's still the same issues. Now, how we fix those water and how it's built is a little different. Can you explain to them a little bit about how manufactured metal fireplaces are different than masonry?
Well, they're a system that's manufactured off-site, and we bring those in and install them into a cavity or a chase structure. But there's one of 2 ways that chase structure is built. Sometimes it's wood framing with brick veneer around it, and sometimes it's just brick veneer, and then sometimes it's wood framing with siding and that type of thing. And so we offer 3 different options for making sure that the water doesn't get down into one of those chase structures, right? We have the standard chase that's just a flat 22 gauge metal pan that sits on top that has the 3-inch skirt that goes all the way around the edge and comes down with a little kick out. And those are exceptionally good for your siding chases. And then if you have a brick chase, we've discovered a way to make the BIA standard coverage out of the metal. So we build that 2-inch overhang all the way around the structure with the metal, so that you have a not only the helmet or umbrella coverage with the overhang, but then you have a skirt and a kick out down there to even help any water that I haven't seen any water get past the eave, but that it then gets past there and it can run down that skirt. And Brandy, I can see Brandy's comment over here. Thank you for pointing that out, Brandy, because I get caught in the terminology of our industry. BIA is the Brick Institute of America, and they have some guidelines, suggestions. Even some of their writings are in our code books about how a brick chase or a brick structure or chimney should be capped and protected at the top.
Yeah, and when it comes to manufactured metal fireplaces, one of the things I think is very, very important for people to know is once your fireplace starts to rust and once it gets to a certain point, there really is no fixing it. You basically, I call it a root canal. You hollow it out from the inside and you put in new. So if you hate it, that's your opportunity to upgrade. But that's why we want to keep chase tops, the solid top, the caps, the structure, whether it's siding or brick or stone. We need to keep that pristine because you want that fireplace to last as long as humanly possible. They usually have about, in my opinion, 25 to 30 years of lifespan, and they're not going to last forever no matter what. They either rust or they warp. But in our market, normally it's rust. So making sure that you properly maintain it, meaning when the metal's at the top, because the builder never puts stainless in, if you have rust at the top, that we proactively get that fixed so that you're not replacing whole fireplaces. Because it's really depressing when you get someone who just bought a house, who's proud of it, a young couple with kids and everything else, then you have to explain to them that this whole fireplace is rusted out. They shouldn't use it. And it's going to cost them X amount, which is a lot more. It's always more than you expect to get it replaced so they can actually use it, which unfortunately we do sometimes.
And it's sad because as I've been out in the trucks and doing the service and working with the guys, one of the biggest problems that I see out there is a storm collar that was not installed properly, that has allowed water to get down into the chase structure and rust out that metal box. And it's unfortunate because it could have been as simple as installing it properly had an expert and certified technician and company installed those products.
Correct. Even the tops, the metal caps, the chase tops, the shrouds, we see all kinds of weird stuff where they've caulked stuff together. I mean, where literally the inside, you make a big pool at the top where water just sits. And as you get closer and closer to the coast, which is unique to us, if it's galvanized, it's not going to last very long at all. Your fireplace is going to be toast I've seen it within 5 years. So it's important that everything is designed correctly for the environment we're in, because for us, it may be different than someone in Kansas City or somewhere else just because of our climate.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, I've seen a chase cover go bad, a galvanized chase cover go bad in 2 years.
Yep. And
that wasn't down here in the Salt Sea area. That was in the Midwest. So yeah, I mean, it can happen anywhere. And one of the things that we do that's so different than everyone that I know of in the area is we put that cross break in. So we crown that metal chase top or cap or cover, and it has those ridges and that cross break to keep it up and crowned so that the water runs off of it and it won't pool and rust through it.
Sure. And now you get into something that I can go on and on about because I helped design some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But even at the top of that, we have a seamless collar where literally it's bent up. It's not a seam that's been caulked together or soldered together or anything else. It actually is a solid seam that goes up, so that we're not reliant upon sealants or anything else to stop them from leaking. Plus, we're using 22 gauge, or we're using quality galvanized metal or stainless, which we use more and more and more, just because long term, I think it's a much better investment. So I think we've covered water leaks for most people. I've seen people, we've gone from 6 down to 2, back to 6. So I think we've covered it from beginning to end. So that's going to be it for today. Let me know if y'all want to see Donovan again, or let me know if you don't. All comments are appreciated. And we can bring him on again, or we can keep him away, just depending on what kind of feedback I get from all of our customers in Houston. So I appreciate it today. Did you have something, Donovan?
Well, I was just going to say, you and I could probably do 20 minutes a day for like the next 3 months on water leaks.
Yeah, unfortunately, both of us have the skill of talking, and most of the time it's good, but occasionally we get off. So give us feedback. Let us know if we're doing well or not. Also, share it. We want to help as many people in the Houston area as we can, and most people don't know, but we can put this out. Not everybody sees it. If you hit the little heart button, the little like button, and you share it, more and more people see it. That way, as many people see it as possible, and we can help as many people as possible. So I appreciate it.